moments away from actually getting this show on the road, and the race should be starting in a matter of moments, I think.
Indeed.
Oh, no, that didn't sound so good. Oh dear. So, any bets on who's going to put it on the wall first, Thomas?
That's a really tough decision. I'm going to guess that the first person to put it in the wall is going to bin it on pit entry.
That's actually quite optimistic. I'm guessing that it's going to be within the first lap, and I'm putting my money on, even if he's not technically the very first car to hit a fence, that Martin McFly will be involved in it somewhere.
No, he probably will. Now, it depends on whether you count the fence or another car, because those are two very different things.
Now that was the starting signal. We're getting ready to go, just waiting for the lights to go out.
Indeed. Lights are on. And off they go. And Terry Hawkin has he got the best start?
I don't
No,
think he
Kara's
has.
got the best start. Kara's actually on the No, Nicola's in first
It's
place.
the three-way.
Nicola's taken the lead. What a great start by Philippe Nicola. He started in fourth place. He's taken the race lead. Terry Hawkin is in second place now, fighting with Kara, but I think Hawkin's got the corner. So Hawkin is going to be in second place. The field has made it through the first corner all right, but Philippe Nicola is leading the race. Nope, Lucarelli has hit the back of one of the Gilets.
Oh dear,
I think that was Mo. God damn it.
We sort of saw this happening in qualifying. It was all over the place, out of control.
Indeed.
And I suppose then we shouldn't have been surprised it was him of all people that would make the first mistake.
Local glass-making business Primo Glass getting a good amount of sponsorship airtime there.
I think we have an accident further ahead as well. Did you see? I'm pretty sure there's a car pointing the wrong way there.
I didn't see that.
Well, they're waving the yellow flags at turn 3, which would indicate some sort of problem.
Oh.
Whoa, what is their mister doing?
Tama Kazama!
Oh,
God.
Kazama's gone! Oh my goodness, we talked about this in qualifying, about how she's been a bit erratic, a bit out of control. Let's see, she's battling with Dan Greenlaw in the Vauclair. Dan Greenlaw around the outside. Pretty good move by him, in fact, to go up to 6th place.
I think she's trying to defend on the outside, and she... Oh no, she got slammed in the back there.
Whoa! Rear-ended by... I think... That was McFry, I think. Is that McFry that did that?
Oh, tell me it was McFry.
No, I think that's It's a similar looking car to the NR.
No, it is Boivolov. It is Boivolov. Hits Kazama in the back. Kazama launched off the back of Dan Greenlaw, really, and really nothing she could do. We did talk quite a lot of crap about her in qualifying, but I don't think she could have avoided that.
No, at all. Not her fault at all. Sticking to her line on the outside sensibly, so that looked like she was trying to get involved in anything. Oh, that was close. Oh,
yeah.
That was a dangerous move from Kara. A bit too desperate to be doing that on the very first lap.
Did, Hawkin and Kara managing to avoid an accident, but that was quite a close call. So at the end of the first lap, as it all dies down, Philippe Nicola is leading ahead of Terry Hawkin, Alberto Kara, Nick Noermester in 4th place, Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen is down in 5th place, Dan Greenlaw up to 6th, then Boivolov, McFry, Yamamura, Lambrecht, Schiller, Van Rijkens, Plaza, Torrente, De Bock only in 15th place.
Was that a Vauclair with half a wing missing? Or am I seeing things?
It wouldn't surprise me if Greenlaw got some sort of damage in that crash. I'm not sure why he'd have front wing damage, he was rear-ended as well, but...
Anyway, it's quite interesting to see that's 2 races in a row now that Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen
Lucarelli's in the pits. That's understandable. He did crash into the back of one of the Gilets on the first lap. So that's going to be a bad start to the race for the Italian.
I do presume there won't be any team orders at Killer Up. There's no Drivers' Championship in it for either of them. They just need to bring both cars home to the finish. So I do wonder how long Nick Noermester is going to be able to stick it out ahead of his more esteemed teammate.
Indeed. I mean, Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen is still technically in contention for the championship, but he needs to gain 27 points in the last 3 races. That's basically impossible, so I don't think he's going to be too mad if Nick Noermester holds him back for too long.
No, he really does need to win all 3 races left in the season. The chances of that pretty low, especially when he's down in 5th, and even if he does get less past, still has 3 cars to clear, all of which are the title protagonists.
Indeed, I mean, going on past pace, it shouldn't be too hard to expect Terry Hawkin to retire from either an accident or a mechanical failure. But it would be harder to hope for the MRTs to retire. I mean, obviously they used to have a real reputation for breaking down really early in the race, but now they've actually turned themselves into one of the more reliable cars of the series.
Yes, indeed. In fact, the only race all season the MRT have not been able to get at least one car to the end was the Austrian Grand Prix, when Nikola was suspended, replaced by Kremnicki, and both drivers had a pretty hellish ride.
Martin McFly has retired from the race. Get to see what happened.
I wonder why. Let's take a look. It'll be interesting to see.
Could it have been an accident?
It's not showing up on.
It was. Indeed, it was.
Well, it wasn't quite right about the order in which it would happen, but
yeah,
it happened in the end
it
anyway.
was an accident.
Lap 3. Well.
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Let's see what happened. He's lost his rear wheel.
He's lost everything, frankly.
Yeah,
he's lost of that car.
He's lost the right rear wheel and the entire front of the car. Let's see if we can find out what happened to him. Because he might have gone rear-ended, but somehow I think it's more appropriate to guess that he just spun it into the wall on his own.
Well, either way, it's typical McFry. I don't think we'll be seeing
Indeed,
him again.
yeah. I don't think anyone's really going to complain that he retired so early.
If anything, he's just living up to expectations.
Indeed. So, you did mention that none of the MRTs made it to the finish in Austria. Kara did make it far enough to be classified, but only in a lowly 15th position, so it doesn't really do anything to help that claim.
No, and that does mean he didn't finish the race. He didn't cross.
No, he didn't finish. He was classified, but he not a finisher. I mean, you could claim, at least say that he basically finished if he, for example, was classified in 4th or 5th. But no, in 15th place, that really doesn't help. Shinja is off the track. He hasn't lost anything, so he keeps it going, but he's lost quite a few positions there.
And that's really going to be the death knell for him. The only way that USD had a chance of getting anything meaningful out of the race was to keep everyone behind from a good qualifying position. He's just ceded a whole lot of ground. I don't think we'll be hearing much from him for the rest of the race in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah, points were already a hard ask from him anyway. I don't think he's going to be able to get even close now.
It's now lap 4, and only now do we see Mark Dagnall appear in the list of drivers in the top 15. Long road.
Indeed.
And he's behind his teammate, actually.
He is, yes.
Remember that he qualified 3 or 4 places up the road from.
He did.
Dagnall behind.
Yeah, Dagnall qualified in 15th place. Torrente, I believe, in 19th position. Torrente had a really good start, to be fair. He was in 13th to 14th place after a couple of laps.
Oh, we have a brake problem for one of the drivers. Who are we on board with at the moment?
This is car 9, so it's Alexei Boivolov.
I wonder, because
he's managed to
he
pit it.
rear-ended Kazama and caused that accident at the start because he didn't slow down quickly enough.
Indeed. So he's managed to pit it. So I do think he's going to keep the car going. He's basically lost all chance of a good result. And that's Alessandro Lucarelli behind it. Oh no!
Shane Walsh bends it. We did say that it's a sort of an off-again, on-again kind of driver.
19th place.
He's just lost it all by himself.
Yeah, he's just binned it. He's managed to keep the car going, so he might be able to continue the race, but he's actually managed to find reverse gear. He's backing up onto the track. Has he stalled it on the curb? No, he was waiting for other drivers.
In fairness, he was safe there. Let Lucarelli go past before doing anything, but that's going to consign him.
He's kept it going. It's going to be hard for him to even finish anywhere other than last now, considering he still has to make it back to the pit and change the entire nose cone.
Terry Hawkin looking around the outside. That's not really going to work when you have such a small performance differential. He's going to have to find a way to squeeze to the inside at some point. Yeah, so it's a shame for Shane Walsh, but again, quite expected considering what he's been doing in pre-qualifying and in races so far this season. It's a shame as well because he didn't have this reputation in F2 RWRS. It might be that the Gillet's a really hard car to drive, and Uring Emil is just really used to how the Gillet's handle. But
certainly not so. If we expected something from Shane Walsh, it wasn't that he would crash so often.
No. 21st place, this has not been a good weekend at all for Daniel Melville. Completely outclassed by his less experienced teammate Akira Yamamura, currently running up in 8th place.
Indeed,
Won't be seeing much of him this weekend. The other thing that we missed there was Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen overtaking his teammate Nick Nermester for 4th place.
So that didn't last very long at all, did it?
No, and he does appear to have pulled out a very small gap so far.
Yeah.
Nermester, yep, you can see now a gap forming.
Jean-Luc Scheger is out of the race. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's crashed it there. Oh, no, that's a big crash.
Who did he get hit by? That's what
I don't know. I think that was.
Did Bok, was it? Because it looked like a white
It
and
might
yellow
have been.
car.
It looked like a Vodka. So it might have been the Bok. Yeah. It was the Bok. Yeah. Oh, that's a big accident.
I mean, in fairness, Schiller was a sitting duck there, but
Yeah.
instead of staying rank, if he'd stayed rank and file behind the other guys in that queue, he would have missed him, but he had to pull out. We'll look at the onboard replay from him here. You see he's following. He's following the other cars going in.
Yeah, we're not going to see another replay, I don't think. But it looked like he's managed not to get any damage, so he might continue.
A miracle and a half.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he got another race ban for that. That was not very good at all. And we know how...
Pretty 50-50. I mean, when you've got a broken car like that, you don't really want to be driving straight back onto the track at such an angle. You've got at least...
Indeed, yeah.
At least half the blame to Schiller, if not most of it.
But indeed, when you look at the Bog, he managed to claw back some of the ground. He was in 10th place. He still is in 10th place, but really, even though Sugar really should have waited before he got back on the racetrack, that still really is poor form by the Bog to just careen into the back of him. I don't know how he's managed to keep the car on track without any damage.
Yeah, that is. You know, you've looked at the replays of other guys going off. They almost always knock the front wing off, if not for a whole wheel or something like that. So a bit of a surprise. He fumbled his way, for lack of a better word.
Speaking of which, he's still trying to make his way past Danny Van Rakens, so he doesn't appear to have lost any performance in that accident, which is a miracle in and of itself.
Speaking of which, Lambroots is doing really well. It's lap 7 now, and he is still in 8th place. So one of the best performances this year.
He's gained ground from when he started.
That is a surprise. It'll be very interesting to see how he does. Could be a shot at points then, knowing the average attrition in an ARWS race.
Indeed. Well, that is assuming he isn't part of the attrition himself. Which, I mean, to be fair to Block Monster, the car it's not been reliable per se, but it's not being a ticking time bomb every time. They finish pretty regularly. I don't think he'll be a threat for points per se. He's probably more likely to be one of the cars that retires, but assuming he gets lucky with attrition and he doesn't retire himself, he might stand a chance at a good result. Yeah.
We've missed a couple of things there. Greenlaw for one. Oh no, Greenlaw hasn't gone past Nermester. I thought he's passed.
No, he has.
Again.
He's in 5th place.
No, but he's just swapped back and then it's gone back again. There was a brief moment on the scoreboard.
Oh, Hawkins taking the lead. Hawkins just taking the lead.
Well, he was looking pretty fast, and he had already gapped Cara behind, so it looks like the Fusion might just be the fastest car here this weekend. It'll be interesting to see how much of a gap he can pull over. Of course, now it'll be an interesting case of what does MRT do regarding its cars. Nicholas is not completely out of the championship contention, but the gap to Cara and Hawkins so close, you wonder if there might be a bit of manoeuvring there at some point.
Yeah, it's not really... something we can expect to happen almost certainly, because team orders not really a thing that happens in in ARWS, but certainly it would be best for business for Daniel Melrose, assuming he's behind the pit wall, to tell Philippe Nicolas to let Alberto Caro past him.
And actually, Killer seems to be one of the better teams when it comes to this, executing actually a really fine move in terms of team orders last time out, using Nermester as a shield against Dagel, who was chasing Van Nieuwenhuizen in the last race, I believe.
And I think we just saw Aurélien Moll actually pull out a good move on, I think it was Katayama, he's just taken 15th position behind the mecha of John Bean, who's in 14th place. And his teammate Brazos in 13th as well.
That is an unusually solid position for Team Mecha to be in. 13th and 14th. Very rarely do we see both
Indeed.
cars running at the same time, and especially so close together as well.
Yeah, and, well, even though in the championship they may be behind, the Gilet is on average faster than the Mecha. So,
Well, that's quite a bold claim, and I'm not sure
It's a
I
bold-
buy it at all.
well,
The driving lineup is certainly better, but whether the car is up to much compared to it, I'm not so sure. The engine in the Mecha
oh,
is
definitely
certainly
not. The
superior.
Gilet engine is certainly one of the weakest in the field, like, probably only ahead of the Great Wall. But, yeah, Aurélien currently having a very good race so far, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him catch John Bean in Jesus Plaza relatively soon.
Although he is only 1.9 behind. In fact, that gap has just now gone down to 1.3, so he does seem
Yeah.
to be making inroads already. Elsewhere, we also maybe missed Depok passing Van Reyken. Surprised he hasn't already
Yes.
managed to get past Lamberts as well. It's been a couple of laps now, and that gap, as soon as he got past Van Reyken's bridging across the Lamberts, just vanished within the space of a lap, because clearly there is pace in that car and that driver, but for some reason just can't find a way past the Great Wall of Belgium.
Well, indeed, there's the old saying that says the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. It's a bit of a reach to say that Thomas de Bock is an unstoppable force. He didn't exactly dominate his way to that title in 2017, but certainly Lambrecht is one of the tougher people to pass in this field.
And actually he's dropped off the back slightly. A few laps ago we saw him right up behind the block monster, and now there's a bit of a gap forming. I can't tell whether that's the natural sort of flow of having a go, losing time because you didn't pull it off, falling back, or he's actually just not keeping pace particularly well, which would be a surprise.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
Boivolov making his way back through the field, and Torrenti is still ahead of his teammate, but only just. I don't imagine that's going to last particularly long.
Yeah, so if we look at the standings now, so Hawken now leads. He's already got 3 seconds on Nicola, who is pretty much holding up Alberto Cara at this point. Hawken, you can see him gapping Shane Walsh. So you really have to wonder if Daniel Melrose is going to ask Nicola to get Cara through. Because if the race were to end now, well, for one thing, it would be half points. But Alberto Cara would lose 5 points to Terry Hawken and would be 7 points down going into Japan. Whereas it could just be 5 points if Cara were to finish second rather than Nicola.
Well, they may just simply be waiting for a time later in the race. It'll be interesting to see as well what different strategies on. There is a chance.
Daniel Melville's out. And
Yes.
nothing of value was lost.
No, given the race he was having,
No, he did actually crash out. Like,
that may have
that
just
is-
been him being pushed to the side. In all honesty, I'm not sure that was the replay of the accident itself. But indeed, he was having such a horrible weekend. If anything, it was just a case of putting him out of his misery.
off our screens, the Bock has finally passed Gambrecht, so it seemed that he was just dropping back a bit to better mount a challenge. Now he's about 10 seconds behind Akira Yamamura. That is just how slow Walter Lambrecht was.
Yes, there is quite the queue forming behind Walter Lambrecht we saw a few moments ago.
So if you just look at the gaps, so Nicola and Cara a bit over 4 seconds behind Hawken. Van Nieuwenhuizen is about a second behind Cara. Dan Greenlaw 3 seconds behind that. Nick Nurmester about 4.5 seconds behind that. And then there's 16 seconds to Yamamura and another 8 to Thomas de Bock. So,
De Bock
Yeah.
does have decent race pace, we all know this, so I imagine he is going to catch Yamamura at some point. Although it doesn't look particularly good for making up anything more than about 6th place. It's a very big gap now.
indeed, well, he had 6th place is his usual finishing spot this year. He's got 3 6th places, all of them consecutive, in the 3 North American rounds. He does also have 3 third places. So,
And I do believe he did something similar in 2017 in his actual championship year. A lot of the time when he wasn't on the podium, I do seem to recall him finishing in about 6th places. Dan Greenlaw seems to have made a mistake. He looked very slow through there, got a bit crossed up. He continues without too much time lost. Stays where he was in terms of positions because he's now made quite a large gap to Nurmester, who he passed a few laps ago. But still, if he wants to make his way up to the podium places, that's not how to do it.
Now, looking back at 2017, actually, when De Bock did finish a race, he was never lower than 4th place. So it took him until the Belgian Grand Prix to actually win a race, but before then, he'd already scored 5 podiums in a 4th place. That 4th place, incidentally, being in Dallas, where he ran out of fuel, I believe, on the final lap,
as did
not
almost
Dagnall.
everyone else.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if he was on course to win that race, but he was certainly on course for a podium. So that was one of the more tense finales of a race, certainly in recent memory.
Yeah, and it just demonstrates how huge a downfall that De Bock has had this year. Of course, the first 3 races essentially don't count. It was at Gillet, which was a horridly slow car and unreliable.
Indeed.
And aside from that problem that he had running out of fuel in was it Detroit? Or
I believe it was Dallas.
Oh, it was Dallas, okay. Well, apart from that, the only other times where he failed to score, 1 retirement, and 2 cases where the car gave up in the last few laps of the race. So very consistent, very quick, and that's all just gone completely out the window this year.
He took 2nd place in Italy, 3rd place in Austria, 2nd place in Canada, then 2nd place in Road America, 2nd place in Zandvoort. So extremely consistent in 2017. Took 3 wins to finish the season, 3 wins in the last 6 races. And again, he got 11th and 12th places in Argentina and Japan. Both of those, he was high up in the points until retiring at the very end of the race. So, again, a really consistent driver in 2017. Consistently at the front, even though the car he was driving, the Volker, not the fastest car, certainly one of the more reliable ones, but usually out maybe the 2nd or 3rd quickest cars on pure pace. But at least he was consistently in the front. Now the Volker is certainly a bit further back, and De Bock really not being able to capitalize on the closer fight for position.
Speaking of cars that are running at the front but not necessarily the quickest, it seems like Nicola is almost driving a train at this point. There's quite a few cars queuing up behind, going all the way back to Greenlow in 5th place, who's now within 4 seconds of the MRT in 2nd.
Indeed, and Noah Mester is actually catching up to them. He's losing a bit of time, sorry. He's 5 seconds behind Dan Greenlaw. Yamamura now 21 seconds, and De Bock is just 2 seconds behind Yamamura now, so he has indeed caught up quite quickly.
Car looks pretty frustrated now behind Nicola, weaving left and right, trying to force his hand, make a point of, I'm faster, get out my way, but Nicola just will not listen.
Indeed. And going back to De Bock, if you look at the gaps, he's only lost about a second in the last 3-4 laps, so he's running at Hawkins' pace. Really quite impressive race pace from the Belgian.
It's just obviously a shame that he can't qualify to save his own life and puts himself in these really bad positions.
If you look at Thomas De Bock's qualifying pace, I can't remember the last time he actually scored a pole position. Must have been...
Has he ever scored a pole position, actually?
I think he has, at the start of his...
Oh, that looked like contact from Mark Dagnall on...
Might have been,
It's that Van Brakens. I could have sworn there was a tap there from Dagnall as he went past Diego Alvarez Torrente.
But indeed, looking back, in 2011, back when the series was essentially just a free-for-all, he did score pole positions in Brands Hatch and in Adelaide, I do believe. But that was
How
back
many
when...
centuries ago was that?
Many. That was in 2011. Those are his only 2 pole positions that he's ever scored.
Dagnall really is getting quite sort of desperate behind the NRE of Van Rijkens, who we saw earlier was very difficult to pass. Thomas De Bock getting stuck behind him for a number of laps, and now Dagnall finding out first half why it was so difficult for the Belgian to get past. Although it seems like Wouter Lambrechts is influencing proceedings a little bit as well. He has looked at the inside, but it's just too quick a corner. There's no braking zone there, so not really any chance to actually force a move through.
It's a rather twisty circuit, but not one with very much heavy braking going on, so it's not the easiest circuit if you want to make an overtake. Speaking of that, Aurelian Moore is up to 14th place, so John Bean has fallen back down out of the top 15.
Goodness knows how far, but not really a surprise. The inferior of the 2 mecha drivers, but at least for the Indonesian team, Plaza remains strong in 13th. and doesn't look like he'll manage to go any further, as actually Mole Pitts, his main rival, heads for his first stop of the afternoon.
And there we have our answer. John Bean inherits 15th place after that. But the Bok, he's not on our screens, but he's 2/10 behind Yamamura, so...
He has bridged that gap, and yeah, it took him a while to get there.
There he is! And Kara's binned it on pit entry.
Oof. These lads really have to be more careful. You might end up bending a suspension arm with stuff like that. Kara possibly, who knows whether it was strategy or he just asked to be called in because he was stuck behind his teammate, going for the undercut, or it'll be interesting to see.
Over 10 seconds, that is quite a long pit. Let's see where he comes out. He should still be in the top 10, but we've got Mole getting up by Hawkin. But he does come out in 6th position, so just still in the points. Still way ahead of Akira Yamamura, still 15 seconds ahead. But
strategy-wise, that could go either way. It'd still have to be a 30-something stint to finish off if it is a two-stopper, so definitely a chance he's on 3 here this afternoon.
And Lambericht has pitted, much to the relief of everyone behind him.
That will free up the shackles on car number 7, I think it is, the lead Jones.
Oh, Lucarelli! Lucarelli has spun round on pit entry. And it's...
Oh, he's been passed at the entry to pit
yeah,
lane by
he's been
someone.
passed on pit entry. It's lucky he's lucky no one else actually crashed into him.
He does actually appear to have lost a position doing that to Naoki Shinjo, so even though he's way at the back, he still manages to lose something with that, unbelievably. As Dan Greenlaw comes into pit lane for his first stop of the afternoon, you can see the Vogler crew out waiting for him. There he goes.
Yeah, he's coming out. He's already helped Lucarelli. And he is behind Kara.
But not by much. Look at the gap.
Oh,
it's very small.
he's quite close behind.
This is
I did think that was a relatively close. Dagnall's hit the wall on pit entry. But yeah, I did think that was quite a slow stop by Kara, so it doesn't surprise me that Greenlaw is so close behind. Let's see, who's that coming in? It's Mark Dagnall. And
Jesus Plaza as well is in for his first.
He's dropped out to his Plaza, so that is. Shane Walsh has still managed to stay ahead of Shinjo and Lucarelli. That is just how bad Shinjo and Lucarelli have been so far.
Oh dear, that's not good from Jones, putting Dagnall right out behind Hansuki Shoya. You'll need to find a way past very quickly, or he's going to have a world of problems. Kara is stuck in traffic as well behind one of the USD, well, the only USD, I presume.
Yeah. So Shinjo is
a notorious mobile security, if there ever was one.
Yeah, Shinjo is graciously getting everyone through to get to lap him. Thomas the Box still stuck behind Akira Yamamura. He's going to try to make another move this time, but no, he's not going to make it through.
Yeah.
Torrente hits the wall as well. Yeah. I mean, screw Schiller. No, it was Boivorov who had the first lap accident. Screw him. That pit entry is definitely having rejected the race.
Yes, I do wonder what it is, whether it's the surface change perhaps, maybe something in the compound of the tarmac used, who knows what kind of issue, but clearly something is not quite right with that pit entry. As
Dagnall tries to make a move on Shioya, doesn't quite make it stick.
In fairness to Shoya, he does have a right to do that, even if he's not even really in the same race at all.
Indeed, they are fighting for position.
Lapped by Hawkin, I think, yes.
Yeah.
Dagnall suffers the ignominy of being lapped by the new young pretender taking his mantle as the fastest driver in the series.
And Terry Hawkin not really waiting for blue flags to be shown, just taking it really straight away. Alberto Carlos just had the fastest lap of the race, so he might be able to probably not jump Hawkin, but at least jump Nicola through that. I don't know when Nicola is planning to pit. The Bulk again going to be trying to make a move. No, he doesn't even try. He really needs to make his way past if he wants to hope for points, because Yamamura is not someone you want to get stuck behind.
No, it's that Yamaha is really quite a fast car, especially with the Yamaha engine, one of the better engines on the grid. You look at the teams like Simpson and Venturi, and there's clearly a decent ton of speed in that power plant, so really hard to pass on.
Oh, Kara!
Circuits. Kara, whoa! Is he going to keep it going? Has he kept it at first?
I think he's kept it going.
He's going to lose a bunch of time, though.
Oh yeah,
As
he's
Van
lost
Nieuwenhuizen
loads
goes
of
to pits.
time.
He
I
spins
think
it around.
he's
Decent
dropped
spin time,
behind
at least.
Greenlaw.
But he has. Just the one position he's lost. One of those cars will be out of sync.
Van Nieuwenhuizen is pitting. He's probably going to end up ahead of Kara.
Yeah, after
So-
that, we've lost close to 10 seconds.
Kara might only have lost one position on the track, but he's lost a whole bunch of time, and that is going to lose him even more in the championship.
And again, that will raise the question of can he even get it out, or will he rather stay ahead of Normester in net terms? Because it's
Indeed,
a risk
yeah.
battle of putting behind both KLRs rather than just the lead KLR.
Yeah, at this point, Kara is in fact in sixth place, both in real time and virtually. So he would be losing 9 points to Mark Dagnall. Not Mark Dagnall, Terry Hawkins. Sorry.
Terry Hawkins, yes. You're clearly thinking back to the old days. It feels
Oh,
a long time ago now that he was once a dominant.
The olden days, the good old days of Dagnall wins it all. Thomas de Bock still very much behind Akira Yamamura, 2/10 back at gap, really staying very consistent at this point, and really the Belgian not being able to do anything to pass the Japanese driver.
The thing I really have my eye on now is when Nicola decides to pit. I wonder if perhaps he's slower because he's on a 2-stop instead of a 3-stop. That might explain the pace discrepancy.
It might, yeah. So we just saw the brilliant sight of John Bean and Daniel Martins fighting over 10th position.
Those
Which
are
is
some
not something
heady
you can
heights
see every-
indeed for Mecca.
Yeah, this is not something you see every day. I mean, John Bean has not pitted yet, but...
And if
Oh,
this-
Dan Greenlaw's off the track!
Oh my goodness me, Dan. What
Yeah,
are
he's
you
just
doing?
lost it on his own. He's managed to keep the car in one piece, but that's cost him some time as well. Is he going to drop behind Kara? That wouldn't surprise me either.
Ooh, it's going to be close.
I think he might stay ahead.
Ooh, he almost got hit by him.
That is dangerous.
Jeez, oh Dan,
That
what
is
are
dangerous.
you doing? You've forgotten how to drive after that.
But he
It's
has
almost
fallen
as if-
behind Kara. He's fallen behind Yamamura and De Bock as well.
It's almost as if he's lost a lot of his confidence since that accident in Belgium. He just hasn't been the same driver in terms of... Because at the beginning of the season, even when he wasn't necessarily the fastest, he still looked strong in terms of his driving ability. And now he's sort of become a little more nervy, a little more twitchy behind the wheel. It's concerning almost to see that he's driven so differently since his return from the accident in Spa.
Yeah, I guess it might be the fact that he might not have waited long enough to come back. That he might have needed a bit more rehabilitation, but
Yes.
he's certainly still good enough to qualify respectably well. But it's all about the stamina and whether or not he can withstand the pressure of driving through an entire race.
It's not just the physical stamina either, but the mental stamina that exerts on you.
Yeah, really after it's not been so long. The Belgian Grand Prix was a month and a half ago, but it's still some time that he spent on the sidelines and other drivers have spent actually in the car driving.
Anyway, to the relief of Thomas de Bock and the other Vogler, Akira Yamamura finally takes his first stop of the afternoon. That'll release the shackles.
Indeed,
on
and
car
that's
number
Thomas
one.
de Bock. Thomas de Bock suddenly in 6th position. He has not pitted yet though.
Yeah, so we're interested to take a look at his fuel readout and see how far into this race he's planning to go without stopping. And Daniel is still stuck behind Shoya after all this time. We said he needed to get past him quickly, if at all, and this is going to be hurting him immensely in the long term.
Yeah, so that's Nick Noormester in the pits. So
He'll
he's
be
probably
aiming to
going to come out ahead of Kara. I don't think he's really made any mistakes. Van Nieuwenhuizen is certainly ahead. Shane Walsh pits. This doesn't really matter. He's taking on 29 laps of fuel, so it's going to be a 2-stopper. Well, really a 3-stopper after he was forced to pit. Really.
Kara looks like he's going to go past. I think
Kara is past Noormester, yeah.
It will be. It won't. It'll still get ahead of the two.
The Vogler's in 6th and 7th place in tandem, and they're about to lap Shane Walsh.
It looks to me as if Greenlaw's on a 2-stopper, so his pace was actually very, very good, and it's quite the shame he went off like that, because he was easily matching the likes of Nicola and Van Nieuwenhuizen, but that little error is just cost him dearly.
Yeah, and really it's something that it's something you don't really want to see from top level drivers. Obviously he's a He's really good. He's on the pace. He's one of the quickest drivers out there, but really making mistakes like that, it's not something you want to see. It's something he did in Adelaide at the start of the season when he crashed out, as did Terry Hawken, but both at least a couple times, which eventually played into the hands of Philippe Nicolas, who won that race.
And speaking of, he's coming for his first stop of the afternoon. We'll have to keep an eye on where he comes out. He's behind Van Nieuwenhuizen.
He's in third place, but he's still crucially ahead of Alberto Cara, which is not really a surprise. Nicola hasn't really made a mistake all race. Cara noticeably has.
So pace-wise, still
yeah.
not 100% clear where each of them are.
All we know so far is that Terry Hawken is very much in the lead, has not pitted yet.
Which pretty comfortable.
Oh, it's a very comfortable lead. He's 31 seconds ahead of Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen at this point.
Entirely his race to lose.
Yeah. As have been many races so far this season, and he hasn't lost many when in that position.
And here he finally is coming in for stop number 1 of the afternoon. Well, 27, he could probably pull off a 2-stop from here. And
yeah, it's not going to be a one-stopper. I don't think anyone's really going to be attempting a one-stop at this point.
No, I'm looking at the scoreboard and I don't really see anyone who hasn't come in and changed so far. Lambrecht, maybe I don't recall him stopping at any point.
No, he has. He did pit.
He did.
Relatively early on. And Aurélien Moll, who has pitted, is in 12th position now. So he's gained quite a bit in that stint.
Yes, he has. That is quite a surprise to have jumped Van Rakens as well. I wasn't necessarily expecting. Plaza doesn't surprise me, but to be out of Van Rakens already is quite a surprise.
Thomas de Bock is pitting now. He should come out at least in the top 10. He definitely will come out in the top 10. Is he going to stay ahead of Yamamura? That's the question. And I believe he does, yes. So he only made it through thanks to Yamamura pitting, but he has managed to stay ahead. So that is at least one position gained for sure by Thomas de Bock.
Tell you what, that is a very big gap between Yamamura in 8th and Dagnall in 9th. That has to be 25-30 seconds almost.
Something like that, yeah.
Like attrition aside, Dagnall isn't going to get any points by the looks of it.
No, it doesn't look like it. Not on pace anyway. I mean, unless he manages to pull out some fantastically quick gaps for the rest of the race. I don't think he has much hope of even catching Yamamura at this point.
No, that was almost looked like Katia was putting up a fight against Terry Hawken, lapping them there. Some of the backmarks in this series, a little bit too much pride. They fight a little bit too hard against being lapped sometimes, and that causes immeasurable problems for the leaders.
Indeed, even the standards in races are higher than in qualifying. Blocking is much more frowned upon during a race than it is in qualifying. And I think, yeah, we do have Aurélien Moll about to pass Wouter Lambrecht, and he's made it through.
Something. What happened there? We saw bits flying.
I think it's Van Rakens who went off track and lost part of his front wing, I think. It might... Yeah.
I think there was a trackside marker there as well. It might have been that, one of the...
It might have been that, yeah. Well, he's certainly losing a lot of ground at this point. I think he might have lost his front wing.
Yeah, he's going pretty slowly, actually. Yeah, he comes in.
Yeah, he pit. So that is quite a big train forming up, presumably behind Wouter Lambrecht, as everyone could have predicted. Moll has made it through, so he's going to be pulling away from that, and he's actually less than 10 seconds behind Diego Alvarez Torrente and 15 behind Mark Dagnall.
This traffic is not helping Terry Hawken whatsoever. Look at the size of the gap to Van Nieuwenhuizen, down to under 4 seconds now.
Indeed. It's not because Van Nieuwenhuizen is naturally quicker, it's just Terry Hawken getting bogged down in traffic, and that might play into Bastian's hands, but not for very long. As soon as Terry Hawken is out of that traffic, he's going to be pulling way ahead again.
Yeah, and it is a lot of traffic. It could be a couple more laps before we see him clear everyone.
Indeed, but Van Nieuwenhuizen is going to be hitting it again, so he might be able to briefly take the lead if he manages to take advantage of that, but I don't see a reason why the other backmarkers would give him an easier job than they did Terry Hawken.
Who knows what goes on behind the scenes in the paddocks? Maybe everyone's got it in for Terry and everybody loves Bastia. Who knows?
It doesn't look like that's happening. The gap is back up to over 4 seconds. But indeed, that is quite a big train of cars going on. Mo has just been out by Terry Hawkin. So next on his list presumably is going to be the two Joneses again.
For the second time this afternoon, yes.
Not really much going on aside from that at the front, really. The gap's relatively large, relatively stable. So now it's almost 6 seconds between Hawkin and Van Nieuwenhuizen. Then 5 seconds to Nicola, about 8 seconds to Kara, 2.5 to Nurmester, then about 8 seconds to Greenlaw, and 21 to De Bock, who has pitted. So.
And also notice that Kara hasn't really made any inroads in this stint on Nicola. He was a lot faster in that initial phase of the race, but now he's got clear air to try and work his way back up to the rear of his teammate, is actually just staying where he is instead.
Either he's not quite managing to find enough pace on these tyres, or he might have damaged something on the floor during his off-track excursion. But
and in fact, he's dropped off a little bit further. It was 8 seconds, it's now 9, so it's unclear whether that's just traffic or genuinely lacking pace at this point.
So we're on board with, I can't tell who this is, it's one of the Kamahas, but
it must be Yamamura, because...
Well, it has to be, Malvol's retired, yes. So it has to be Akira Yamamura. Oh!
Jeez, Bastian, what are you doing? Turn 3, he just loses it by himself. We've seen a couple of people do that already, but you'd expect from a multiple race winner something a little bit better than such an amateur spin into the wall.
See, I think we're going to be seeing a replay. No, we're probably not, no. But, yeah, he's lost ground to Nicola there. Yeah, he's just.
Where is he going?
He's kept it going. He's going onto the other side of the track. What's he done?
Bastian, learn to drive. It's
Yeah,
a disgrace. No one knows how to rejoin the track properly.
Someone else did the exact same thing in qualifying. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been.
It was Nicola, wasn't it?
It was Nicola, yeah, at the end of the first session.
Oh dear, it's finding him a very long time to find the right gear. He's
dropped down to 6th place. He's really in a bad situation.
That is not how you do it, Bastian.
He has found the track. He's kept it going, but
no.
That's the bog right next to him. That is awful. Both the spin and the attempt to get back on track. Yeah, that is how you lose a certain podium.
Yes, and perhaps even a shot at the race when it was looking like everything is just conspiring to help Terry Hawkin.
Yeah, a distant shot at the race win. Usually Terry Hawkin doesn't need everything to go his way, but this time that's really what's happening. Roberto Cara, Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen, Dan Greenlaw, all 3 drivers going off on on-track excursions and lengthy breaks while trying to get back on track. And that's basically left Philippe Nicolas as the only person who hasn't made a mistake so far. Yes. Nick Nurmester hasn't made that much of a mistake. Hasn't made any mistakes so far, but
it's been pretty consistent, and it was the same last time as well in Sao Paulo. He just got on with it. He just kept himself to himself. Looked like he was going to get podium out of it, and then the transmission snapped on him. But again, he's improved a lot in the last few races, hasn't Nick Nurmester? Becoming a lot calmer now. I think he's settled down. He's got over the fact that's a very slow moving. Oh, he's finished. Is that it? I think that was De Bock. Is it?
Is it?
I think it was the number.
No, it's Dan Greenlaw.
Oh,
Greenlaw's out of the race.
It's not been a good time for him at all. He spun out early in the race. And even though he smashed the front wing of the end there, it looked like the car just ran out of power completely. I'm guessing either a transmission or an engine failure. Likely the former, given how many transmission failures Volkler have had this season. It's been a recurring, consistent issue they still haven't found the root cause for.
So yeah, and that's going to elevate De Bock into an almost certain point now. He's pulled out 10 seconds on Yamamura. He's a lot quicker than the Kamaha. And he's right behind Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen now, so... Well, he still is right behind Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen. So he might be able to put out 5th place on merit. I don't think he's going to be able to catch even Nurmester, so aside from attrition, I don't think De Bock can hope for anything better than 5th place so far.
No, but again, you've seen how many people spun off and made silly mistakes. It really is a sort of anything can happen situation. It's just he's got to play the waiting game, keep his head screwed on, and hope for the best.
And that usually is something that Thomas Lebok is good at. He
Well, last season
obviously.
perhaps, but this season he's been all
Yeah.
over the place, so I am not so confident
He,
myself.
he has in most races, but in other races he's been able to keep his head calm and on track. That's how he's managed to score 4 podiums still. So you never know. He might be either he's going to throw it off the track stupidly, or he's going to keep his head clean and score a decent haul of points. At this point, I think his best hope for the championship. He's almost definitely going to pass Fredo Mastorio, who's injured, so that helps. Mark Dagnall, I think he might have a chance at passing Mark Dagnall in the championship with a bit of luck.
It'll be one of these cases where either Dagnall will get that one magical result that will push him out of reach, or in the last 3 races of the season you'll get nothing and Debok will just creep over the line with a couple of small points finishes.
Indeed, but in any case, I don't think Debok can hope for anything better than 5th in the championship.
No, certainly not. No, Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen completely out of reach, even if he has made a bit of a hash of it this weekend. Generally speaking, is quick enough to be in the podium week in, week out. And was looking good for another podium last week before the car gave up on him. So, yeah, it's very unlikely he'll do any better than 5th. And even then, he's got to watch out for his own teammate as well. Greenlaw all the time looking like he can finish on the podium. Just a case of the car actually making the finish for once. But if he does, you're looking at another maybe 10 points if he's lucky.
Yeah. Now, it's worth noting this wouldn't be the worst title defense there's ever been in the sport. For one thing, Nathaniel Cameron finished 6th after his title in 2011, and Pippa Mann only started 5 races in 2013. And Terry Hawkins crashed!
Oh my God. He had it on a plate and he's just thrown it away. Zero pressure.
And so
small. Behind him.
Mo's out as well.
Their Mester's gone. Their Mester is gone.
What's happening? Is it just a complete coincidence? Or
it has to be, because they're nowhere near each other on the track. One wasn't lapping the other. They've got to be at opposite ends of the track. It's just sheer coincidence. Both their Mester and Hawken have gone off at the same time.
That has just completely changed how the race is panning out. Philip Nicolai is now leading the race. Alberto Carr is in 2nd place, and he's almost definitely going to be taking the championship lead unless he does something stupid. Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen, despite that ridiculous incident, is now in 3rd place. Thomas Debok inherits 4th. And Akira Yamamura is going to be 5th. Mark Dagnall is still going to be scoring a point in 6th place.
At least, do wish we could
the way things are going.
Those, but it doesn't look like we're going to get one, unfortunately. But wow, this is amazing for MRT. If they hang on to this, the Constructors' Championship becomes a foregone conclusion.
Well, it already was.
All over the place. Yeah. Looks like something's broken on that Venturi. You can hear the engine noise is gone. Engine's gone, and that is. Whoa! Wait, that's Lucarelli going off at the same time.
NK, what is happening?
Wait, is that a failure or is he just spun it? It looks like the engine's still running.
No, he's still going. Katayama has retired. That's a completely different car.
What in the world is happening right now? Two laps.
Everyone's retiring.
Results. Absolutely bananas.
And just to show how his gap was, Terry Hawkins still showing up in the top 15. He's just about to get knocked out of it, but
he's virtually gone, yeah.
And Plaza's out of the race as well.
Oh, that's got to be gutting for Mecca. Plaza was doing reasonably well, and given the rate of attrition we were heading towards there, who knows, could have scraped that miracle point, but that's really.
I mean, after this, Shane Walsh might scrape a good result even.
Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This isn't
at this rate. If this keeps happening, at least a top 10 finish. I mean, he did do it in South Africa.
He's not even. Wait, is that? I was going to say Plaza was the main hope for Mecca. I was completely wrong. That is.
John Bean is in 9th place.
My. Is he going to go one better than last weekend? We thought 8th in itself was a miracle. He could go one better or.
Van Nieuwenhuizen pits, so De Bok is up into 3rd place.
And of course, this Lambert's in 8th. And heck, he might actually end up getting a point at this rate.
The Jones is in 6th and 7th, having started 15th and 19th.
So, fairness, you'd expect them to have climbed their way up a bit anyway. They do have reasonable race pace, even if in qualifying they're nowhere to be seen.
So, in just the space of about 5 laps, the entire race has just been turned around.
Yeah, I want to say it entirely.
Indeed. So, if things were to end like this, MRT would just score an extra 317 points, essentially. They were already 21 points ahead in the championship. So, well, with this result, they would actually secure it with 2 races to spare.
I didn't realise it's mathematically certain already. It's certainly effectively over without the doubt.
Yeah. Well, if they were to score the 17 points, Fusion have both cars out of the running now. So they would be 38 points ahead with 34 points still to take.
Four ahead no matter what happens. And in fact, looking at the Drivers' Championship, we would have Nicolau on 64, so... He would
2 behind Hawkin.
Yeah.
Kara would have 71.
Yes. So suddenly you'd have a situation where really all 3 are right in the thick of the championship battle, rather than just having those 2 and Nicola sort of in it, but not really. This suddenly turns what looked like a 2-way title battle into a 3-way title battle.
I think Dagnall was just spitting there, I think I saw. Yes, he is. So what we're seeing now is Nicola and Kara still fighting, well, defined fighting for the lead. There's about 7 seconds between the 2, and the gap is roughly stable. Thomas de Bock in the very distant 3rd place. I don't think he's going to be catching the 2 of them anytime soon. Yamamura is in 4th place, just ahead of Van Nieuwenhuizen, but Van Nieuwenhuizen has pitted. So Dagnall does fall a bit behind. He comes out in 7th place. Yeah.
Yeah, just looking down the order, we must be getting towards the point when there's only about 15 or 16 cars left. Lucarelli has spun, goodness knows how many times this afternoon, at least twice, I think maybe.
Lucarelli and Walsh, who almost crashed out, nearly retired in the first couple of laps, are in 14th and 15th place. They have to be the last 2 runners.
Surely, yes.
Who else could have been that slow or that crash happy to be behind those 2? I don't know.
I am struggling to recall anyone. There were a few guys who went off at the start, but I think those 2 really were.
The most surprising thing is they've only been lapped once.
Yes, that is quite a surprise. Although this Oscar Calves Arena, not necessarily the shortest track in the calendar, I do believe
it's not, no,
somewhere
but
in the middle in terms of length.
Well, lap times are around 1:20, so
it's reasonably short, I suppose.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as short as, say, Toronto, but...
Yes, or Monaco as well.
Yeah, it's... Oh, and Shane Walsh is out. Just as I was saying it, and... Yeah. I don't know what's happened.
Pack up and go home early.
Yeah, well, a few hours early. I don't know what happened. He probably crashed out, that's what he usually does. But, yeah...
And Lucarelli pits from what is now last.
Yeah, he's not really losing any positions, is he?
This really has been a disaster for Venturi.
I mean, with his luck, he might be able to pit and still fall behind Walsh, who has retired.
That would be quite a sight to behold. Is that Martin's making a pass for position there? By the looks
I think he's just past Voivolov, yeah.
Yes. Up to 10th now.
So Bean and Martin's really doing really well, and Lambrecht as well, 8th, 9th and 10th respectively, doing really well. And there's your answer, someone was behind them, it's Naoki Shincho.
Wait, wasn't Dagnall ahead of Alvarez Torrenti a few moments ago? Or am I imagining things?
I think they were ahead of each other, but they both pitted, I think.
Ah, right, so maybe a mistake in the pit stop.
I think, yeah, Dagnall might have had a slower stop, or Torrenti might have set a fast gap in the meantime. But yeah, so it does seem that even behind Lucarelli and Walsh, Naoki Shinjo was still there being shit. Yeah, well, at least Marco Bizzarri wasn't there to do even worse. So yeah, the standings as they are now, surely that has to be just 15 cars left. Philippe Nicolas leading, Alberto Cara 2nd place, 25 seconds down, so he must have pitted. Thomas de Bock in 3rd place, Akira Yamamura is 4th in the Yamaha, Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen is 5th, Mark Dagnall is now 6th as Torrenti pits. So I think Dagnall is just really far ahead and pitted to be just behind Torrenti. John Bean is 9th, John Bean is 8th, sorry, Dan Martins is 9th, Voivolov is 10th, Shioya is 11th, Danny Van Raken's 12th, Walter Lambrecht's 13th, he's pitted, Alessandro Lucarelli 14th, and Naoki Shinjo in 15th position. And Van Nieuwenhuizen is now right behind Akira Yamamura for 4th place.
Yeah, who really has no right being there to begin with. Awful mistake earlier on, and desperately clambering away to try and get some ground back. That sounded like Yamamura sort of pushing the edge of the grip available to him to try and keep the far faster Keller up behind him. You saw the pace they had at Sao Paulo last weekend. Clearly one of the fastest, if not the fastest car. Only good at the moment, and the car unfortunately being wasted on these two rookies this weekend. It's not even uncharacteristic, that's the thing from Bastian Van. This isn't uncharacteristic. He's made a number of these sort of rookie errors, I suppose to be expected with a man with so little experience, but still indicative that there are some rough edges that need tidied up before he can have a proper assault in the championship.
I mean, it was actually overdue that he actually got a drive in ARWS. He's certainly one of the most talented drivers out there. Born in Mascancha, 28 years old. He's been knocking around in major junior series since 2014, and he won. I believe he won Formula 2. He certainly won AR 3.5 last year. That's what got him his drive. But yeah, one of the more talented drivers knocking about in the junior categories for 4 years before that.
Never actually a winner overall in F2 ARWS, but finished second in the championship in 2015, where he took 3 race wins.
John Bean has...
what a shame. What a shame.
Thrown it off the track.
Fantastically well before that. 8th place in a plat.
Can he keep it going, though?
Sounds like it. The engine's still running. Not quite sure why he's not moving, though. Maybe he's beached it.
There he is. No, I think he was just getting everyone go past. So he's managed to keep it going. Yeah. So
that's ruined any chance of a point. Really, for a minute there, it did look like he had half a chance of scoring, make his first ever championship point, but that puts paid to any hopes there.
Thomas de Bock in a consistent 3rd place, if anything. Far enough ahead of Yamamura. Not really threatening Takara. So, and assuming he can keep it on the road, that 3rd place is his.
So this actually might lead Daniel Martins to 2 consecutive point-scoring races, which no one would believe possible a couple of weekends ago. Nobody would have seen that coming. Currently in 8th place, so only a couple of points off the position. Of course, pace-wise, he's not going to be able to catch the guys in front, but it's been a crazy race so far.
With the way attrition has been working its magic right now, there's no reason to say that two of the cars ahead of him might retire. So, yeah, Daniel Martins probably not going to be able to make it up to 6th place through on-track overtaking, but certainly something he can hope to achieve through attrition. And Mark Daniel has just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's slowly catching up to the back of Yamamura and Van Nieuwenhuizen.
Looking at that gap, it's definitely one he's going to be able to bridge and potentially take positions for, so he could be looking at 4th after all for this weekend, but that gap to the back is really, really large and possibly just a little bit beyond it.
Indeed, yeah. So, not really that many changes so far, at least at the back. Gambericht, Cucurelli, Shinjo still in the last 3 places. Gambericht, of course, having pitted. I think he's on a 3-stop strategy.
Yeah, a bit of a weird choice given his necessity of basically using his car as a blockade to stop people getting past. That extra stop is not going to help in that particular endeavour at all.
He's a driver whose only hope really is to just stay out as long as he can. So
maybe he should have even looked to try and see if the 1-stop was feasible. Perhaps not possible at all at this track, but certainly a 3-stop is an odd choice by Block Monster.
Yeah, so John Bean unfortunately down to 12th place after his unfortunate error. He was running so well, but Daniel Martins has inherited that 8th position and is now really second in line for a points finish if attrition strikes again. It would have to strike in roughly the same magnitude and importance as it did about 15 laps ago, but that would certainly be a sight to behold for it to happen twice in one race.
Yes. Just looking at the time gaps, I presume there was a pit stop I missed somewhere by Alberto Cara. Would that be the case?
I missed it as well, but I presume that's what happened because
3 seconds is an awfully big gap for cars that did appear to be on the same
he,
strategy.
he was about 27, 28 seconds back a few laps ago, so I'm fairly sure he's pitted and we just haven't noticed it. Unless he had a big off and we didn't notice that either, but surely that would, losing that amount of time, we would have caught that on camera anyway.
Presumably so.
Just spending quite a long time on board with Thomas de Bock. I think we can... No, that's not Cara we can see in front of there. That's a blue car we're about to lap. I do believe that would be Danny Van Rakens. That he would be about to lap, but it's not really important. Here we've got Mark Dagnall closing in on the fight for 4th place between Yamamura and Van Nieuwenhuizen.
Cara is starting to eat in quite a bit to Nicholas's lead now. He's suddenly ramped up the pace. The gap is going down about a second.
Was that a Jones? No, that's Shioya. That's Shioya. Stopping and that's
a DNF. That's going to be an F. Oh, he's chopped his front wing off at some point, but that's really just a byproduct of the failed transmission. So, to be fair, not really on the same level as Martins this weekend either. No. Really, all the eggs are in the Portuguese basket. It's still looking somewhat promising, at least for the team overall, even though that second car has suddenly vanished.
And to his credit, he was running consistently, if not really quickly. He managed to stay ahead of some of these slower drivers, so really pretty much where you can expect the average aero racing to end up.
But to be honest, things have settled down so much. Oh, as I say that, he's gone and run wide. Oh, that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, he's lost maybe a couple seconds to Van Nieuwenhuizen, but he's going to be closing back in relatively soon. Unless he's damaged his car, but it looks like the car's fine. So
yeah, he looks like he's pushing every single last inch out of that car right now. He almost looked like he was going to break traction and spin it turn 1 there as well. So you can imagine it probably only just a matter of time before he takes 4th now, not a question of if, just when.
Indeed, yeah. So, I mean, really doing all of this just to get an extra 2 points. He's not fighting for the championship anymore, so it's more for the pride of presumably staying ahead of Thomas de Bock, who has to be his biggest rival in the championship at this point, at least for championship position. Perhaps I don't think he can hope to get ahead of Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen in the championship at this point.
It may not even be about points, it may just be about trying to show that despite the crappy car he's in with the gutless engine, that he still has the skill that made him a multiple world champion. It may simply be about pride at this point.
Oh yeah, pride, and showing that the fact that he got in those good cars in the first place isn't just blatant nepotism. But so currently in 5th place in the championship. He's still regularly scoring podiums when he can make the finish. Still one of the top drivers, but really been getting screwed over by unreliability in these past few years.
Now here we go, finally a 3-way fight for position. Now Yamamura has been very, very difficult to pass so far this afternoon. Do seem to recall Thomas de Bock spending numerous laps stuck behind the Callahan to a very long time. In fact, I think it took Yamamura actually coming into the pits for him to be released. So
Yamamura pitted rather than anyone else passing.
Take a while. This may take a while, and it'll be interesting to see whether it's Van Nieuwenhuizen getting past Yamamura first, or Dagnall getting past Van Nieuwenhuizen first and having a go for himself. Daniel Martins
pits, yes,
for his second stop of the afternoon.
So that's going to have Alexei Voivodov up into 8th place temporarily, at least. Bean and Lambrecht are apparently fighting over 11th place until Bean pits, so that's... that was short-lived. So Lambrecht is inheriting 10th. I think there was a pass there. Yamamura's fallen behind Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall.
Very unusual.
I'm not sure what happened. I didn't see that.
Yeah, me neither. Clearly not paying
No, he spitted. He spitted.
Ah, there we go. I was wondering how we managed to miss that one.
Yeah, I think that was off our screens. We didn't get the notification until Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall were well ahead. So Torrente is going to fall behind him quite quite naturally. I think even after all the pit stops are cycled out, he should still get an easy points position. And honestly, he's really deserved it. He's driven really well this race. Maybe not on the pace as the other people in the points, but he's done some brilliant defending, quite some really good tactical driving. So he does deserve at least a couple points.
Yeah, certainly, and overall has looked a much better prospect than his Australian teammate in the time that he's been at the team with them. He's easily been their best driver all year at Yamaha, so would expect to see his contract renewed for next year, especially with patience beyond his years being demonstrated this weekend.
Yeah, and Van Rijkens is in the pits. Really not much we can say about that. He's not been really a contender for anything interesting this race. He's come out in 11th place behind Martins.
Yes, overall just disappointing. He qualified well, he looked like he'd be in a good position to make something of this race, and again has just sort of fallen by the wayside as he has done for most of the year.
Well, at the very least he's giving off a better impression than Martin McFry ever did.
I suppose it's something, but really this is these are the kind of races where NRA needs to be taking advantage in. When you've only got 14 cars left in the field and the NRA not particularly bad a car at all, and these are exactly the races you need someone who can take advantage of the opportunity presented to them, and Van Rijkens has consistently failed to do anything along those lines.
Indeed. Well, it's not like the 6 cars that presumably are going to be taking the points are cars that the NRE can consistently beat, but certainly down in 11th place, he really should be at the very least in 8th or 9th.
Yes, this is really the worst possible weekend. Perhaps they could have lost Marco Janša to suspension. This is perhaps one of the best opportunities he would have had all year to finally get on the scoreboard again.
Yeah, Marco Janša, maybe not one of the biggest revelations, but certainly one of the more pleasant surprises we've had this year. That, of course, that 5th place in Australia, not exactly on debut. I do believe he did a race way back in 2016, but certainly been able to consistently bring the car home in decent positions. Finished in the top 10 another 4 times, including 7th place in South Africa. So Marco Janša, one of the better drivers out there, certainly one of the better prospects for the future.
Obviously the car makes a big difference here, but you compare the fortunes from immediately after the Auto Reject 3.5 finale last season, where of course Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen was crowned champion. Janša was really the main protagonist in that battle with the Dutchman, and how their careers have just gone completely separate directions now. Van Nieuwenhuizen, a multiple race winner, Janša are struggling to even score points, and I guess that shows the huge discrepancy in performance between various teams on the grid, that it's just a case of what kind of opportunity gets presented to you.
Yeah, it's a shame to see such good talents really wasted. I think we saw obviously one of the biggest talents in the early days of F2 ARWS, Mitchell Macklin, who has completely failed to make an impact.
Yes, some may call him, well, I believe he's actually been referred to the Ryan Leaf of RWRS in the past, and seems like an apt parallel to draw.
Indeed, yeah. Quite a few drivers just showing... Thomas de Box in the pits. He should come out ahead of Van Nieuwenhuizen. But
what is also his final stop of the afternoon as well. So
it has to be, yeah.
He's got to keep it on now.
Indeed, just as long as he stays on track, he should be good for that podium. Does he come out ahead of Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall? Yeah, no problem. He's probably going to be about 5, maybe 10 seconds ahead. No, 17 seconds ahead. So yeah, he has managed to get a good amount of time there.
And finally, we have another on-track battle for position.
Philippe Nicola has pitted. I don't think we noticed that. So Nicola has pitted and is now behind Alberto Cara. 7 seconds behind, in fact.
Well, you do have to wonder whether that was a bit of orchestration on the part of MRT. That's probably the way round they were hoping they'd be, and that gives Cara massive boost in the championship battle.
Yeah,
The gap will be 8 points after
8
this.
points indeed, yeah. 8 points with 2 races to go, and that's going to put the championship not quite in his hands, but certainly it's going to give him quite a good advantage going to the Asian rounds.
It's probably going to put Nicola out of contention. No, that would put.
Oh, Lambrecht has spun around in the pit lane as well. Boivolov is pitted as well, but that doesn't matter. He's ahead, so not going to see any particularly funny collisions there. So Lambrecht presumably has lost quite a bit of time there. Not sure how that's going to shape up, but
Although he was originally battling Martins for position, that's certainly going to be a foregone conclusion now.
And Alessandro Lucarelli has inherited 10th place from that. Thoroughly undeserved 10th place, I think we can both agree there.
Yes, the Venturi car clearly capable of much, much more than the pitiful showing they've managed this afternoon. Of course, really hard to tell what Katayama could have done, taken out of the equation very early, but certainly seemed to be on it a little bit more than his Italian teammate.
Now, to be fair, Lucarelli, aside from bumping into one of the Gilets at the start, I still don't know who that was, but has managed to keep the car on the road. I don't think he's made any big mistakes since then.
No, he did. Remember, it was just as Katayama was retiring, Lucarelli
yes, he
went
did.
off the turn 3.
Yeah, lost a few seconds there.
Yes.
And aside from that, it's just generally been slow, really.
And of course, don't forget qualifying when he did a million spin turns and couldn't get pointed in the right direction as well.
What a glorious moment that was.
Yes, if anything, Lucarelli is a reasonably strong contender for reject of the race.
Alongside that pit lane entry,
Of course.
which certainly is the prime contender. So yeah, just look at all the retirements. That the list just went away too fast. But yeah, I think we just saw a car on the side of the road there.
That was that's Katayama, who's been
That's
parked there for a
Katayama's
number
car.
of laps now.
Yeah,
They just haven't bothered to take it behind the fence for some reason.
yeah, that's a bit weird. Usually, the marshals are usually really eager to take cars off the circuit, as we saw in Scandinavia when they took one. I think it was one of the Numenens that they just took up and dumped in a lake.
Oh yes, right. They make a complete hash of that. It is
Yeah.
comical. The only track I do seem to remember them not being particularly keen on bringing cars behind the fence is Adelaide, where they have this kind of worrying habit of leaving cars at the hairpin, and there have been incidents in the past where cars have simply gone off at the hairpin and hit retired cars that are sitting there.
Indeed, I can't remember any specific incidents of that happening, but I do certainly remember it happening at least a couple of times. Dagnall is in the pits now, so he's presumably going to fall behind. Is he going to be behind Yamamura and Torrente? I wonder.
Could go either way. It was very close to both of them, so it could go either way. Has he come out of the pits yet? Has he finished?
I don't
stop?
think so.
So it
But
looked
looking
like
at
he
the
was out
retirements in the meantime, Walsh, Plaza, Hawkin, Nermester, Katayama, Mole, Greenlaw, Melville, Schuller, McFry, and Kazama. So that's really... It's high attrition in general. It's not quite as high as we've had before. We've certainly had races with only 6 or 7 finishes before. But still, I think the impression we've had of that unreliability, it was heightened by the fact that almost all of them happened in the span of about 3 laps.
Yeah, it was a very manic period where suddenly everyone... It was a lot of mechanicals as well, which is quite a coincidence. Trying to remember, there's...
Van Nieuwenhuizen's in the pits as well, and Dagnall is out, and he's ahead of Yamamura.
Oh, he did manage to pull that off, so that's well done by him and his crew at Jones for getting that car turned around quicker than the
So
Yamaha
how's it
was.
going to work out for Van Nieuwenhuizen? And no, Van Nieuwenhuizen is ahead. So the Dutchman is still in 4th position ahead of Mark Dagnall.
So that looks like
Yamamura
it's
has
gonna be-
lost quite a few seconds there.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to be able to reclaim that. The Dagnall, well, we all know what Dagnall can do, and the Kieler up a bit faster than the Yamaha, so I think Yamamura's
Torrente has been in on pit entry as well.
But yeah, I think Yamamura's just going to have to settle down for 6th place, keep it calm, and just bring the car home in one piece. I don't think he's going to be able to challenge for anything more at this point.
No, I think aside from possible attrition, he's got 7th place, really. He's got that in the bag. Shinjo's pitting from last place, so really nothing. Lambrecht and Shinjo now, 2 drivers been napped twice. Oh, Kara's pitted again, so it looked like no, he actually just had lost all that time. Kara's now 35 seconds behind Nikolai. Not sure what happened there. The Bok is right behind him as well.
What has happened there? We completely missed it. Nothing shown on the screen, but Kara has clearly made a mistake somewhere. Might be one of those jobs where they've just spun off, taking a while to find the racetrack again.
It might have been, yeah, and that leaves the Bok in a good, maybe unlikely.
Nicholas is gone. All the MRTs are suddenly making mistakes. It's self-destruction. There goes Yamamura unlapping himself.
So
I don't think he's going to lose the lead, Nicholas.
No, he's not going to lose the lead.
Wow, is that going to bring the Bok into contention for the win? There are...
I don't think he's going to lose 35 seconds
yeah.
there, and he's already pitted for the last time.
He's lost about 20 or so rather than 35. Yeah.
But the Bok is at least in a good position to maybe fight for 2nd place. I don't think he's going to be gunning for the win.
That is good. MRT doing their very best to make sure they throw away a perfect 1-2, which I think they did a couple of races ago as well. They were running 1-2 easily, and then both drivers just threw it away, if I recall. In fact, wasn't that at the... oh, goodness me, I struggle to recall which race we're talking about here, but I could have sworn there was one. Where I think it might have been Canada, where they were both running very well, then...
yeah, that does sound familiar.
Retired and Nicholas recorded to 5th or something.
But Lucarelli seems to have pitted, so he's down into 12th place, but still ahead of Lambrecht and Shinjo.
Well, it's something, I suppose, but still pretty dreadful overall. And still behind Bean as well, which is always a badge of ignominy.
Yeah. So, yeah, the gap between Nikolai and Kara is down to about 17 seconds, so that's how much he's lost there, about 17 seconds as well. But Kara's actually building the gap back up with the box. It's 2.7 seconds now. I think Kara's still a lot faster than the Vogler is.
That was Boivolov taking 8th place from Daniel Martins. Boivolov, of course, recovering from a brake failure earlier in the race, which sent him back a fair bit. And, clearly the Simpson, when it's actually working correctly, is a lot faster than the Aero racing. Not really surprised he's managed that.
Of course, the brake failure either caused by or causing the spectacular accident on lap 1 in which he rear-ended Tomo Kazama and sent her flying over the top of... can't remember who it was, but is the box going, or is that just slow motion in general?
I think that's just a slow motion shot in general.
Okay.
I don't... Yeah, it looks like a normal line to me. Engine sounds normal.
Yeah.
No problems there.
Yeah.
He just isn't able to keep pace with Kara by the looks of it. He was right behind him. It's now 3 seconds, so I guess the MRT's just a little bit faster.
Yeah, that's not really a surprise. I mean, that's why MRT are leading the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, and it has been that consistency if they have got at least one car to the finish, and when it has reached the finish, it's pretty much always been in a podium position of some sort. In fact, looking at the results, let me see, I'm actually struggling to find cases. So 1, 2, 3. Only 3 times so far this season has there not been an MRT on the podium. 3 times out of 15, so yeah, 12 times out of 15 is a very good rate of return in terms of podiums, even if it has only been one of the two rather than both. So no wonder they're ahead in the championship with Fusion almost like a one-man team. Hawking really having to lead that team forward. Mistolio, 1 podium all year, at least he was at least consistent, points, but just not good enough for a championship squad. He really managed 4th and 5th.
Indeed. Tomo Kazama, even though she is quite crash happy, at least scored 5 points, continuing for Mestolio. I mean, I was going to say that's good enough to stay ahead of Kerup. The gap to Kerup is so big at this point. They've got that 2nd place sealed.
And in fact, now you mentioned Kerup, that is the interesting thing to consider is the constructors battle for 3rd. Now, Vogler, this could actually bring them back into the fight just a little bit. They're on 48 points, 5 behind Keeler up in third, and 4 behind Jones in fourth. So as it stands, they'll take 5 points. Jones will take 2, and Keeler up. Oh, actually,
Keeler up would take 3.
So the gap is still going to be pretty consistent. Vocal are only making up 1 point.
Yeah, Keeler up would have 56 points.
I know, 2 points rather. Yeah, well, that doesn't look right. This almost.
Oh no!
He's out. He's out.
Thomas that's the end of his race.
And that's
engine
the same
problem.
Place. That is the same place that Greenlaw suffered his failure as well. So, commentators curse yet again. Vogler will score with nothing.
Just 15 laps to go, and that is going to be the end of Thomas de Bock's race.
It's been the story of their season, really. Vogler, far too many retirements. Some driver induced, admittedly, but a lot of them. The drivetrain just letting them down. Between engine failures and transmission failures, they just can't get cars to the finish often enough.
Yeah, so, well, that's... It was already pretty safe, but that's MRT's 1-2 just consolidated now. There's 32 seconds between Carr and Van Nieuwenhuizen, who's in third position.
And this also may effectively take Vogler out of the fight for third in World Constructors, because now you've got Van Nieuwenhuizen taking 5 points for his team, but
Nicola's out of the race.
Oh, the engine's gone. Yes, that is a wow. Suddenly, Kara has it all to himself.
Yeah, and that's going to be a point for Alexei Boivolov. Then it's going to be in Heretic's place.
That is quite a lucky recovery from him, and that also suddenly means that the World Constructors Championship is no longer a foregone conclusion. Of course, with Fusion scoring nothing, it's still going to be an uphill struggle, but that will at least give them the crow of comfort that it isn't quite over yet, mathematically speaking. Indeed.
So Kara is now inheriting the lead, which, assuming he finishes this race, that would be his 4th win this season. Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen is now 2nd place with Mark Dagnall right behind him. And Akira Yamamura is going to inherit 4th place ahead of Torrente and Boivolov.
And actually, even though they're only a point apart before this race, as it stands, they will still be a point apart between Kellerup and Jones in the World Constructors Championship. 7 points alone for Van Nieuwenhuizen and 7 points combined for both Dagnall and Alvarez Torrente.
Indeed. So Kara, despite having that really ridiculous moment a few laps ago, is leading this race. Van Nieuwenhuizen, who also had a ridiculous moment a few laps ago, is in 2nd place.
There are 30 laps to go, and imagine if Kara does make that one more mistake that takes him out altogether, or his car gives up the ghost, and you'd suddenly have 1 second between 1st and 2nd.
Oh, that was Shinjo spinning out. Could he keep it? Wow, that's a spectacular crash.
But
he hasn't lost anything.
Broken after that, I'm surprised the suspension hasn't gone.
Yeah, he's kept it going. That's really surprising.
He was last anyway, and he still hasn't overtaken De Bock, who retired a little while ago now.
Yeah. That's just like the time when Hawken retired. It took him about 2 laps for him to fall off the top 15.
You're pointing the wrong way, Sunshine. Try again. Hey, there we go. You finally get a point the right way. That took a little while.
He was already in last place anyway.
But yeah, this is really the battle we have to keep an eye on now. It's the only really close battle we've got left, and Van Nieuwenhuizen is stuck behind someone. I think it's Boivolov, I think. Yes, it's
yes, it was, yeah. And is Mark Dagnall going to be spending as much time on Boivolov? Well, he's certainly not past him yet. It needs to be in. Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
So,
that'll relieve some of the pressure on Van Nieuwenhuizen. He's got 12 more laps to survive ahead of the Jones. We've seen with Yamamura as well, it is very difficult to pass here when the cars are pretty similar in terms of pace. So he's got that on his side at least, but it is Mark Dagnall, one of the feistier overtakers. A bit more of a winner crash attitude, and that's kind of a risk for Van Nieuwenhuizen to deal with.
Right, so with how things are going, so with Kara leading, Van Nieuwenhuizen in 2nd place, well, that would knock the Dutchman out of the championship race.
Effectively out of it going into this anyway, realistically speaking, but...
Oh, was that Kara being slow? Or no, he was just at the exit of the corner, I'm sorry.
Although that is a good point. If Verhoeven were to win this and Kara did not finish, you would have.
He would be 17 points behind Terry Hawkin with 2 races to go.
Still way out of it effectively.
Yeah.
But not completely out of it mathematically. It's a huge long shot, but with the attrition rate, not impossible.
Yeah. It would still be just a miracle to still be in contention at that point.
Oh, certainly.
Martins has a spin. That's a shame. But keeps it going. Doesn't seem like he lost that much. No, he has lost actually quite a bit of time there.
Yeah, he stopped to let a couple of guys through. Looks like I think he was ahead of Lamprecht before that, was he?
Yeah, I think he lost ground to both Lamprecht and John Bean as well.
Yeah, Lucarelli's
Lucarelli's in 8th position.
How? This is just bizarre.
He's had one of the shittest races we've seen this season. It just so happens that literally everyone in this field has had a bad race of some sort, with the possible exception of the Jones drivers.
Yeah, I struggle to think of. I think Dagnall made a mistake at some point. Not a big one, a small one, but
yeah, he lost maybe a couple seconds in that.
I think that leaves us with Alvarez Torrente as being literally the only driver that hasn't spun that's still running. I seem to recall every
I think he hit the pit. He hit the pit wall on entry once. I think that's the extent of his mistakes.
Okay, so not a single clean race from anyone this afternoon. Not a single driver mistake-free. That is quite the thing. Although Boivolov, it depends whether you blame the first lap tangle on failed brakes or you suggest the failed brakes are from that tangle. We might find out the reason for it at the end of the race. Not really sure, but we may never find out. In fact, bit of an odd line there from Torrente, but onwards he goes.
Yeah, he's still going. He's in 5th place. That's relatively safe for now. I don't think he's anywhere near Yamamura or Voivodov being anywhere near him a bit further back. So, assuming he keeps it on the island, is Lambrecht there? No, he's just getting Kara through, getting it up for the second time. So yeah, Kara well on his way to winning this race. 30-second gap over Van Nieuwenhuizen. And 32 over Mark Dagnall. So
getting a little bit locked up there by the sounds of it. Lambert's almost running wide.
Yeah, well, at least he's kept it on track, mostly. But he's onwards for another good result for Bob Monster.
Interestingly, Daniel, you remember he lost a few seconds dealing with Boivolov's traffic, and still hasn't made up that gap yet. It's pretty solid at about a second and a half.
Indeed, yeah.
I don't wonder if he's going to be able to catch up at all. Well, he made up a little ground there, actually. Yeah. It's down to under a second now.
So it's still going to be a relatively exciting fight with less than 10 laps remaining. So, yeah, this should be a fun battle until the end.
Yes. I don't know, I just have this inkling that something might happen to Kara. This might end up being the lead battle.
That would be a magnificent occurrence. And it would give Akira Yamamura 3rd place as well.
Yeah, second. It would be a second podium of the season, if I recall. He was starting Spa, I believe. Yes.
Yes, he was.
That was John P. Oh!
Lucarelli pits with the loose wheel.
Off. Well, at least he made it back to the pit lane.
Yeah.
He screwed on again. So he'll limp down pit lane and get that looked at. In fact, it looks like they're just going to change all 4 anyway, seeing as he's in.
Yeah, why not?
Although
might as well might as well just get fresh tires. So Dagnall went. He does look a bit quicker than Van Nieuwenhuizen, but the Dutchman doesn't look like he really wants to let the Brit through.
And also that has cost Lucarelli 3 positions. He's now dropped behind Martins as well as Lambert.
Yeah.
He lost a place to be just coming into the pit lane to begin with, but that's...
for the race he's driven, he should be in 11th place out of 12.
To be fair, yeah, that seems pretty accurate.
But Martins but Martins and Lambert have also had pretty bad races of their own, so... Most of these drivers deserve to be in the last 2 places.
Oh, without a doubt, yes. Tell you what, though, this suddenly means that John Bean is equaling again.
He's in 8th position, isn't he?
One more retirement and he just goes one better and suddenly sets the benchmark again for Mecha. So all it takes is one catastrophe and suddenly Mecha has a point.
Yeah, if Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall were to hit each other, not saying they will, but that... Well, for one, you would have Yamamura in 2nd place, Torrente 3rd, Voivodov 4th, Van Rijkens 5th, and John Bean in 6th place for Mecha.
That would be a sight to behold, yes. And surely that would hurt him a contract renewal for next season, how could it not?
Yeah, exactly. Even though he didn't show particularly good performance, he just really has... He's been less awful than everyone else. It's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and in fairness, you know, he managed straight to finish, his teammate didn't. That's something,
yeah.
I suppose.
I guess. I'm not sure if... We never saw how Praza retired. It might have been a mechanical failure, but... Yes, at least he's made it to the end of the race with relatively few mistakes compared to everyone else, so... That 8th place is, at the very least, deserved.
Locking up a bit going into that corner there, Torrente. Got to be careful. He's on his own as far as I'm aware, so not really a particular reason to push.
No, but it's just the fact that you're on your own. It just makes you lose sort of track of how fast you're going. Yeah, so you don't have anything ahead of you to focus on. So you start losing your concentration, start thinking about something else, and that's when you make your biggest mistakes.
Oh, speaking of mistakes, there goes Lamberg's off. Nothing wrong with the car, he's just
keeps it going, but yeah, he's
just
bouncing on the gravel.
Clearly couldn't deal with the pressure being applied from Martins behind him, and that looks like Corelli's caught up with him already.
Yeah.
So he might end up being in 9th in the end anyway with Corelli, despite that extra stop. A real shame for Lamberg. He almost looked like he could be in the mix for a point, but just a couple too many mistakes, and that's really blown his chances. So we ride on board again with Mark Dagnall. He's starting to run out of time to make a move.
Here's Akira Yamamura on our screens, 4th place. We haven't seen him in quite a while. Really been steadily driving his way basically to a clean points finish, really.
Indeed, not seeing him is probably the best thing for Kama. Obviously the sponsors won't be particularly happy, but aside from that, it's really what he needs. He just needs to keep a clean line, keep his head, don't do anything silly, and more points for Kama that are desperately needed considering they've barely finished any races this season.
Exactly. If you look at those results, they haven't finished very recently, but in their first 5 races for which they pre-qualified, they finished 8 times out of 10, so a reliable car to start the season. But since then, they've struggled to finish at all. In the past 7 races, they've only finished 4 times.
The thing to remember is they acquired the IP rights for the Revolution chassis, and based on how quick they were at times, clearly that was a decent chassis that they got a hold of. So maybe that transition... it's been a bit rocky for them. They've not quite figured out the best way to make the components last the way they should. It's maybe integrating it with a different engine's been an issue. We have a yellow flag. What for?
Kara spun out!
My, oh my, oh my. Well, we did say there was a risk that he might end up
I think he's managed to keep it going, but is he going to lose the lead?
He's reversing
I think he
out.
might.
Why is he reversing out? Just spin, turn and go back, you silly idiot. He has half a minute.
I think he's lost the lead. I think he's going to be losing the lead.
He's not moving.
The engine seems to be running, but Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall have passed him. Kara is down to 3rd place.
Away. My. Oh, he can't even get it pointing the right way when he recovers as well. Is he going to lose 3rd to Yamamura? It's a big gap.
He's got hit.
Oh!
Boivolov has collided with him.
I think both are out. It sounded like the engine just died on impact. Boivolov's certainly gone, that's certain. I think Kara might have... That is a huge hit.
Certainly that was Kara's fault. He was going...
Of course, no doubt at all. 100% Kara's fault. Very reckless. Boivolov out, of course.
Look at that, Boivolov coming through.
We're going to get a replay of it on board with the Russian driver. So he's driving along calmly.
Left-hander. Yeah, Kara's just driving right towards him.
That's got to be a race ban. That is reckless.
It has to be a race
beyond the pale. He was literally driving the wrong way on a live racetrack. If that isn't an exclusion, I don't know what is.
And so that's just thrown the title into Terry Hawkins' hands. And, well, as we said, the battle between Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall is now the battle for the lead.
Yes, and it's a battle of less than 1 second difference. Yeah. My goodness, it's 4 laps to go. And
has Cara kept the car going? I don't know.
No, that's a replay of the earlier incident.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Oh, it died on impact. He's finished.
Oivalov is definitely out.
Cara, it's just a matter of seconds until he's officially retired.
And that means that John Bean is now in the points.
My goodness me, so he is. Mecca Grand Prix on track for a point after 4 years of absolutely nothing, completely in the wilderness.
No way.
He's still running?
He's still running!
No, hang on, I think this is still a replay of early, because like Boyful...
This is another replay, yeah.
Yeah, this is a replay still. Okay, we get it, he's retired, it's a shock and awe moment. But now we really want to see what's going on in the front.
Yeah, we want to see the battle for the lead, because that is a really interesting fight. That's just been made even more interesting.
And we're getting news from the stewards now. They have handed down a punishment to Cara. He is suspended from the next race.
And the next suspended race ban as well.
So suddenly Hawken is again in pole position for the title. His main competitor not even showing up for the next round.
So the basically is going to be left to Philippe Nicolas to actually close the gap down in Japan.
Yes, and he's got a 12-point deficit to make up with only 20 on the board, so he's up against it as well. My oh my, what? There's still 4 laps left, obviously. Who knows what kind of...
Yeah, confirmation that Cara has retired, of course. So Van Nieuwenhuizen, Dagnall, 6/10 in it for the lead. Akira Yamamura will inherit 3rd place. Alvaro Sorrente will be 4th. Danny Van Rekens is going to be 5th. Maybe not the most deserved drive, but at this point, just for keeping on the road, he really he deserves something at the very least.
6th place. Who would have believed it? John Bean.
Fucking Bean in the Mecca.
Much maligned at the beginning of the season for being hopelessly slow, hopefully inept, hopelessly out of his depth, and yet 1 race after getting his team's best ever result in ARWS history, suddenly he's going to score a freaking point. Yeah,
we mentioned that Danny Van Rekens was having a relatively bad race, and that if Marco Janša were here, he'd be doing quite well. Van Rekens is now in 5th place.
And I suppose you look at the cars ahead of him, even if Janša had been driving it, the gap in terms of performance of the cars is probably where he would have been anyway, even without any mistakes.
Well, considering the mistakes everyone else has made, it's not impossible that he would have been fighting for that 3rd place with Yamamura, maybe.
And also, now, I don't actually recall Van Rekens making any actual mistakes. He just seems to have been very slow for the whole race, but not actually throwing it off the road at all.
No, I think he's been not really commendable driving. He's not been really on the pace at any point this weekend, but at the very least, not making any obvious mistakes. Which is more than we can say for about 90% of the drivers still remaining.
Is that Wouter Lambrug's getting away with Mark Dagnall? It is. That's allowed Van Nieuwenhuizen to bolt. Look at that. A gap is emerging because the block monster is getting in Mark Dagnall's way.
Oh, Brock Monster very much giving up to his name.
The Great Wall of Belgium helping out his compatriot.
The Great Wall of Belgium very much being a block monster.
Look at the gap, it's 2.4 now.
2.4 seconds.
A second, and now suddenly a 2-second gap has emerged with only 3 laps to go. Dagnall is going to struggle.
73 laps have been completed, so we're on lap 74 out of 76. And that is the race pretty much given to Van Nieuwenhuizen, unless Mark Dagnall can... He's really catching up really quickly now, Dagnall. So he might still be right behind Van Nieuwenhuizen towards the end of this race.
Yeah, that's the second. He's way quicker. He's so much quicker right now. I mean, that just goes to show how difficult overtaking is, really. If that is the gap, the speed differential between the 2 cars, and he's still spent at least half a dozen, well, in fact, a dozen laps at this point behind Van Nieuwenhuizen, and still no way to get past. It's been really, really tricky to overtake here this weekend.
Indeed. So the gap is now about 1.3 seconds, but it's getting smaller and smaller with every corner. Kiri Yamamura is in 3rd place, Torrente 4th, then Van Rekens. John Bean still in 6th position. But it's the battle for the lead that everyone has to be looking at right now. And what a result it would be if those two were to crash into each other.
Jeez, why would you have a Van Raken's podium? That would be something.
Akira Yamamura race victory as well.
And then, of course, Bean in fourth.
Yeah, John Bean in fourth place for Mecha.
And Lucarelli would very undeservedly get a point. The most undeserved point in the history of Czech World Race Series.
Yeah, the worst point in the history of points.
And that's including all the bonus points for fastest laps and pole
indeed.
positions. It'd still be worse.
That's including maximum points. No, that's including like any minimum points championships. Those are still more deserved points than any point.
Yeah, it's like the points you get for start and parking in NASCAR. That's still more worthy than
those
this
are still more deserved. So the gap between Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall is now about a second. We're on lap 75, so 2 laps remaining. You can see we're on board with Mark Dagnall, Van Nieuwenhuizen ahead of him, and they're about to lap Diego Alvarez-Torrente, who, aside from one chance encounter with the pit wall, hasn't really made that many mistakes this race. That's just showing how fast Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall have been.
So really
or rather, how slow Torrente has been.
So really the last question that will need answered is, will Dagnall make a last lap lunge and take one of them out, take both of them out, or actually pull it off somehow?
We've got Van Nieuwenhuizen on our screens, the race leader. We're now on board with car 31. That's fun. Yeah, no, that is
got Alvarez Torrente blocking him. Whoa, this is sneaky stuff from Jones. He's got his teammate holding up the race leader, and this should help.
Van Nieuwenhuizen does make it through. And Dagnall is nowhere near. Van Nieuwenhuizen has this race won.
Indeed. Now,
there's only a couple corners left.
Alvarez Torrente get the hell out of the way, or is he holding him up? He's not getting out the way either.
I'm not even sure. No, Jones is right there, and he is making his way through. But
it's up a fight, really. But...
It's only a couple corners left, and I think Van Nieuwenhuizen has won this race. Going into the final couple corners, to the final hairpin. One left kink, and Bastian Van Nieuwenhuizen takes the checkered flag to win the Argentinian Grand Prix. Mark Dagnall finishes in second position. And, Akira Yamamura, unless he makes a mistake on the final lap, is going to take third place.
And even if he does, he's secured anyway, I believe.
Yes, Torrente has been lapped.
Yeah, so even if Yamamura doesn't make it to the end of the lap, he'll still be third anyway. So that settles that. And we're just waiting now for the last couple of guys to come across the line. Van Rakens and John Bean, they are lapped, but
John
still
Bean
a little bit far
in
behind.
sixth position. I think he's far enough ahead of Alessandro Lucarelli.
Yes, because
I don't think he
Lucarelli
has to do any defending.
Yeah, because Lucarelli was in that group with Martins and Lambrix. So you remember that Lucarelli was basically fighting for position with Bean before that last-minute pit stop, so he'll be essentially almost a pit stop behind. There's Lucarelli, who's confirmed in 7th place. So actually managed to get past Daniel Martins.
That is Bean right in front, so there is actually a fight for 6th place.
Oh
my!
Into
the final corner.
Excellent job from Lucarelli to catch up then in that case.
Is he going to do it? No, he's not. No, John Bean is going to take 6th position by about a 10th of a second.
John Bean scores a point for Mecha. I never thought I'd see the day.
This has happened. This is a thing. Mecha has scored a point. How?
I'm honestly lost for words here.
We've watched the entire process, and I still don't know how he's managed it.
He even spun off at one point. He looked like he'd ruined his chance, and still a point.
He's got 6th place.
They will be partying like it's 1999 in the Mecha Garage. I don't think they could have imagined this happening at all. Even after that 8th place last time, it still seemed like a far-fetched idea they'd ever score a point. They've been waiting 4 long years for this.
They haven't gained any places in the Constructors' Championship, unfortunately, because the team ahead, Rosenfeld, they have just 1 point, but an 8th place and a 9th place rather than just an 8th and 2 tenths. So they're not gaining anything in the Constructors' Championship, but
for now,
aside from the honour of having scored their first ever point.
All they really need then is another 8th place, and
they're in 14th place, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And in fact, What a seventh? I think
A seventh place would put them ahead of Revolution as well.
Yes, yes, exactly. So you'd be 13th in that case. All they need is one more point, or yeah, one more point would still only put them 13th because USD have a 5th position and so do Narmanin. But still, they could make up a couple more places before the year's out.
That would be absolutely brilliant for Indonesia as a whole. And we thought John Beam would have a cult following in Indonesia before this race.
I think he's just become more popular than every other Indonesian driver of all time.
I'm fairly sure John Bean is the second most popular deity in Indonesia behind Allah now.
Oh, definitely, and that's got to be a contract renewal. I would be so surprised if there will probably be outrage on the streets of Jakarta if he does not get a contract renewal after this. You would have bet your house that if someone was going to get a point for Mecca, it would be Jesus Plaza. And
it would have been.
Here we are. The pay driver extraordinaire. At least, in fairness, champion of Formula 5000. It's not like he's never won anything before. And also drove in Formula 1 briefly before coming here.
He's not the worst driver out there by any means.
No, but he's definitely in the lower half without a shadow of a doubt.
And out of all that, Alberto Cara and Alexei Bovrov are still classified in 11th and 12th. But
scant consolation, really.
At least Cara doesn't deserve it. Bovrov, I don't think did anything particularly wrong there.
How is he supposed to see that coming? It's almost a blind corner as well.
Yeah.
You can't drive with the expectation there's going to be a car not just parked but driving at you in the wrong direction.
Indeed, yeah.
It was just such an absurd decision from Cara. I mean, we've seen people making really stupid and clumsy returns to the track, but that one just absolutely takes the cake.
Yeah, that suspension is well deserved.
Indeed, and I'm surprised even it's only one race. It's reckless beyond the pale.
It's not the first time that drivers have been doing this. Even this season, if you recall in Adelaide, Mark Dagnall did pretty much the same thing to Thomas de Bock.
Yes.
Less reckless because he wasn't driving the wrong way around, but it was really a reckless way to get back on track, and that was a deserved suspension as well. But yeah, surely that was one of the worst pieces of driving I've ever seen, if not the worst.
Yes. Just a little interesting footnote there. Turns out it wasn't a mechanical failure for Dan Greenlaw, rather a puncture that stopped him from finishing. But still, it won't make any consolation to Greenlaw himself. Another DNF from a strong position. And
it's a shame for Shane Walsh because he didn't crash, it seems. It was a suspension failure as well.
Just looking at the other retirees.
One race where he actually stood a chance at getting a good result, and this time it's the car that let him down.
Mm-hmm. What this does do, though, is it keeps the World Constructors' Championship nice and wide open. Neither MRT scoring, so the gap of 21 points stays the same.
It's still going to be tough for Fusion to catch up, but it's certainly doable.
But certainly, more double DNS or double no scores from MRT would suddenly bring Fusion back into the fight. Now, honestly, Kazama looks like she's capable of maybe picking up a podium, or if not, a fourth or a fifth.
If you were to imagine in Japan a double DNF from MRT, Terry Hawkin winning and Kazama, say, third or fourth, that would bring the gap back down to about 7 or 8 points, which is certainly a
difficult
doable thing.
Feasible.
Yeah, exactly. It would make for at least a very interesting battle going into China.
The fastest lap chart is quite an interesting read. The Voglers are a bit faster than I expected. They looked quite far off the pace, but going faster than Nicola.
Look at Alessandro Lucarelli in 11th place there.
Wow, if only he'd stopped spinning for 5 minutes, he might have actually got in the points this afternoon.
Alberto Cara,
Daniel Martinez really quite high up as well.
Yeah, 12th place. That's quite good for aero racing.
Exactly. The car is gutless. The chassis is underdeveloped. Pretty basic design, and yet Martinez still able to scrape the 12th fastest lap. So clearly his in a sense, the podium was a fluke, but the fact he scored points at all was really on merit last time. And again,
Yeah.
showing that he's not past it. He's still got something left in the tank and something to deliver to the championship.
And well, Alberto Cara, even though he was really an awful piece of driving, still gets his second fastest lap of the season. Really, not that much consolation. Really, doesn't get him any points or anything, but I guess it's something to add to his stats.
Anyway, to wrap things up here in Argentina, the championship position is exactly the same as when we got here.
Indeed, Terry Hawkin leads on 66 points, Alberto Cara second on 64, Philip Nicolai is third on 54, and Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen is now on 49 and still in championship contention.
And Mark Dagnall pretty much guaranteeing he's going to be very hard to catch at fourth. Yeah,
38.
Bok, and I want 38 points, while De Bok stuck on 25. He's not going to win a race to Bok, so it's going to be Mark Dagnall most likely in 5th position by the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think most of the positions have been pretty much secured. Bastian van Nieuwenhuizen actually might catch Nicola for 3rd place. That's a distinct possibility.
Exactly, because it seems to be the case there that Van Nieuwenhuizen either wins or doesn't score. So another win would put him very, very close. In fact, would it put him past? It would put him past if Nicola failed to score points in such a situation. So there is a chance.
It would put him past if Nicola would just finish fourth, outside the top 2.
Yes, exactly. And looking at the World Constructors, again, MRT Fusion still exactly where they were going into this. Kjellerup and Jones. Now, this is an interesting one. Where did Torrenti finish? Was it 4th?
I think he's in 4th place, so that would be
10
points. 10 points.
Oh, 10 points. 10
points for Jones,
yes,
on 62.
Yes.
Kjellerup would be on 63, so still 1 point in it.
So again, that's a very close battle, and Vogler essentially out of the battle for
Indeed, with an unfortunate double DNF there.
Yeah, there's just been too many of those for them this year, especially at the start. They were actually looking really quick at the start of the season and racked up.
If you look at it, if De Bok and Greenlaw hadn't had their problems, they would have scored a 1-2 because they were both ahead of Van Nieuwenhuizen and Dagnall.
This is true, but knowing this series, something would have happened.
That would have happened anyway, but still, case of what could have been.
Anyway, this has been the Argentine Grand Prix of 2018. We'll see you all next time out in Japan for the penultimate race of the season, where we'll resume this championship. Right, will Terry Hawkin finally finish a race for the first time in 5 races? It's been a while since we've seen him actually at the checkered flag. What will happen with Alberto Cara gone? Can Terry Hawkin capitalise? And will we see Philip Nicola somehow drag himself back into championship contender? All that and more next time in Japan. We'll see you then.
Goodbye.